Dear student, today we are going to discuss one of the important topic in the field of sociology, and that is nationalism. When we talk about ISM means something special. For example, when we talk about casteism, that is feeling of one's own caste. Similarly, when we talk about communalism, so ism is feeling of one owns communal society. Similarly, when we talk about regionalism, feeling about the region. Similarly, this nationalism is feeling of one own nations, that is belongingness of one own nations. In this discussion, we discuss about the meaning and definition of nationalism, some key feature of nationalism. When we talk about the nationalism, it means feeling of one own belongingness, one own nation. That is why all people of the nation come together, fight for the same goal. It means when we talk about nationalism, we live in a world that is very nationalistic, although not in the sense that the world has become one nation. Today's world is very nationalistic in the sense that nationalism has clearly emerged as the most dominant political force during the last 2 centuries. It means nationalism is directly related with the political situation of the society. There is no people or territory that is not part of one nation, state or the other. That is why it is necessary to try to understand this phenomena. Nationalism is an ideology. It means this is based on ideology expressed by people who believe that their nation is superior to all others. It means, for example, I belong to my own nation, I feel that my nation is superior to all the country of the world. These feelings of superiority are often based on shared ethnicity, language, religion, culture or social values. From a purely political perspective, nationalism aims to protect a country's population sovereignty, its right to govern itself, and the political, social and cultural pressures generated by the modern global economy. In this sense, nationalism is seen as the opposite of globalization, because globalization means all the nations of the world come together and interact each other, while when we talk about nationalism, nationalism is quite opposite to the globalization. One feels that my nation is superior to the all nations. Throughout history, people have been attached to their native soil, to the traditions of their parents and to establish territorial authorities. But it was not until the end of the 18th century that nationalism began to be a generally. And before 18th century, no feeling was there about nationalism, but after 18th century, this type of feeling developed among the people of one own nations. The ideology of the modern state is called nationalism. It is the most powerful thing in the contemporary politics. Nationalism was first practiced by the Greeks, who believed that non-Greeks were considered inferior to the Greeks. This is one type of feeling of superiority and inferiority. In simple words, nationalism can be explained as follows: a feeling of attachment or attachments to one's nation and state. That feeling of own nation, I belong to this nation and this is my nation is superior to the other nations. Every person has a natural tendency to like and love their blood relatives and family members, tribesmen, the fellow beings and the nations respectively. First, he has emotional attachment to his family members and makes all sacrifices to protect and develop his family. Then his warm attachment to his clan and tribes. This is nationalism, and it is because of nationalism that people protect each other's interest and rights. It prevents social existence from disintegrating, but on the contrary protect and strengthen society. This type of feeling develop among the people of one own nation, that we all belong to one nation, hence we protect and strengthen our power for the society, for the community and achieve the goal. Politically, nationalists want to protect the sovereignty of the country, its right to govern itself. Nationalist sense of superiority is usually based on shared ethnicity, language, religion, culture or social values. Extreme nationalists believed that their country has the right to dominate other countries through military aggression if necessary. The ideology of nationalism is in contrast to globalization and the modern globalization movement. Economic nationalism seeks to protect a nation's economy from foreign competition, often through the practice of protectionism. Taken to its extreme, nationalism can lead to authoritarianism and the exclusion from society of certain ethnic or racial groups. Today, when we talk about nationalism, nationalism is generally recognized as a shared sentiment that, to the extent to which it affects public and private life, act as one of the greatest determining factors of modern history. On about the discussion, we can define what nationalism is. Many scholars define in different ways. When we talk about the definitions of nationalism, we can simply say nationalism is an ideology that emphasizes loyalty, devotion or allegiance to a nation or nation state and believes that such obligations are greater than the interest of any other individuals or group. Nation is superior than the individuals or groups. In other words, we can say that nationalism is loyalty and dedication towards one's nation, specifically a sense of national consciousness, elevating a nation above all others and placing primary emphasis on promoting its own culture and interests as opposed to those of other nations or supranational groups. Every person of a particular nation feels that my nation is superior, my country is superior than other countries. This type of feeling is known as nationalism. Nationalism is difficult to define, as many scholars have defined nationalism in different ways. Following are some definitions of nationalism. We discussed certain definitions. The scholars who have defined nationalism in different perspectives. According to Sinders, nationalism is a condition of mind, that is ideology, feeling or sentiment of a group of people living in a well defined geographical area, speaking a common language, possessing a literature in which the aspiration of the nation have been expressed, attached to common customs and in some cases having a common religion. It is a product of political, economical, social and intellectual factors at a certain stage in history. because every nation has its own language, own religion, own culture, etc. And all the person of the nation feel that my language is superior, my culture is superior, my country is superior. This is known as nationalism. J.H. Hayes said that nationalism consists of modern emotional fusion and exaggeration of two very phenomena, nationality and patriotism. Professor Hans Cohen, a well-known authority on nationalism, defines the concept as a state of mind in which the individual feels the highest loyalty to the cause of the nation's state. Cohen said, it is the living and active corporate will. Every person is loyal, dedicated to his own nation state. This desire is what we call nationalism, a state of mind that inspires most people and claims to inspire all of its members. It asserts that the nation state is the ideal and only legitimate form of political organization, and that nationalism is the source of all cultural, creative energy and economic well-being. The highest elegance of man, therefore, is due to his nationality, because his own life is considered to be vested and possible in his welfare. Another scholar, K.R. Minogue, characterized nationalism as a body of ideas, a form of self-expression by which a particular kind of political excitement can be transmitted from the elite to the masses. This type of feeling elite has, then this ideology transmitted from elite to general masses of the country. Cambridge Encyclopedia attempts to define the concept of nationalism as a political doctrine that views the nation is the principal unit of political organization. The idea behind this is that human beings are characterized by the nationality with which they identify culturally, economically and politically. Nationalism is thus associated with efforts by national groups to secure independence from the dominance of other nations' state. It is often associated with the struggle against colonialism, as said by Crystal in 1990. Nationalism may be defined as a feeling. In other words, we can say this is a type of ideology the person has, loyalty or sympathy that binds a group of people together through common institutions and culture and thus creates unity among them. These are the basic elements for unity a nation has. Apart from nationalism as an ideology, it has a concrete meaning. It is amorphous and, like religion, has diverse forms which mean different things to different individuals. It is essentially a state of mind, a strong sense of personal identity with the people around and a consciousness of common destiny with them, which is acquired through a long habit of association, all due to the impact of socialization or the process of learning. We learned this type of feeling that our nation is superior, our country is best in the whole universe, our culture is superior, our language is superior, our political organization is superior, our economic institution is superior. This type of loyalty, this type of dedication, this type of ideology, this type of feeling is known as nationalism. Thus, it is not a political principle, but a human phenomena, a constantly changing process both in time and space. It is also understood as a universal urge for freedom and progress. Every individual in the country wants that freedom and progress is our right. And all due to this feeling of nationalism, we can achieve freedom, we can achieve the progress. Thus, from the above definitions, we can conclude that nationalism is a feeling that makes the political and cultural values of the nation or a phenomena of consciousness and feeling among a group of people. It can be taken to mean a particular way or ways of expressing national sentiment and can be defined as the sum total of the social, political and national aspirations of the people. In this sense, the ideas governing the life and actions of a nation would constitute its nationalism. All these come together and develop a type of feeling, a type of ideology that is economic, social, cultural, religious, etc., known as nationalism. How this nationalism developed throughout history? When we go through the history, we can say that before 15th century, there was no feeling of nationalism, but pre 15th century, there was no nation state because people were loyal to their tribes, their group, their community, city state, empire or feudal lord. Between 15th to 18th century, nations, state and monarchies developed. A new situation developed that is known as monarchies. People became loyal to the king, and all people of that country feel that our king is superior. In 19th century, after French Revolution or Napoleon Wars, nationalism spread throughout Europe and America. And in 19th and 20th century, loyalty shifted from the king to the country. Nationalism grew because of increased education, culture and technology. This type of feeling, that is loyalty of the nation, ideology about the nation, developed only due to the expansion of education, expansion of culture and technology, etc. This develops the feeling of nationalism in the country. Nationalism has gone through several phases. For example, in 19th century Europe, it integrated many smaller states into larger nation states. The present day German and Italian states were formed through a process of unification and consolidation. A large number of new states were also established in Latin America. Along with the consolidation of states boundary, local dialects and local loyalties were also gradually consolidated into state loyalties and common languages. The people of the new states acquired a new political identity based on membership of the nation state. On the basis of this feature of the nationalism, we can classify according to the features into some important points. Whenever we talk about a nation, then in the context of that nation, we keep in mind the following features or characteristics on the basis of which we try to understand the nation. That is, the first important feature is area or boundary or both. For feeling of nationalism, area is essential, boundary is essential, or both area and boundaries are essential. Similarly, invisibility, the notion that a nation is an integral entity. Sovereignty, or at least an aspiration to sovereignty and thus formal equality with other nations, usually in the form of an autonomous and perceived self-sufficient state. An upward notion of legitimacy, the idea that government is only valid when supported by popular will or ultimately when it serves the interest of the people or the nation. Popular participation in collective affairs. Population mobilized on the basis of national membership, whether for war or civilian activities. Direct membership, in which each individual is immediately deemed to be the part of the nation and in this regard is clearly equal to the other members. Every person is equal in the eyes of the person or individuals. Culture, including some combinations of language, shared belief and values and customary practices. Temporal depth, including past and future generations, and a notion of a nation having a history that has existed through times. Common ancestry or racial characteristics, special historical or racial characteristics. These are the some common features for the nationalism. The above characteristics are helpful characteristics to describe a nation, which are usually done in describing nations. In addition, sovereignty, integrity and social solidarity also inform the aspiration and mobilization of nations formation. Despite the pattern of dominance identified above, historically nationalism has varied in the manner in which this solidarity was envisaged and in the manner in which it was sought to be achieved. This type of feeling develop among the people, that is solidarity, sovereignty, interact each other, etc., etc. These are the base for nationalism. What type of instruments or symbols are important for nationalism? When we talk about the instruments and symbols of nationalism, the most important tools and symbols of nationalism are flags, school, press, radio, television, etc. The first important instrument is flag. The first and foremost instrument of nationalism is the flag. According to Organsky, flags make excellent national symbol because they can be carried onto the battlefield and thus share in the glory of victory. We are proud for our flag and flag is the proud of the nation. Similarly, schools, nationalist propaganda is found in most of the schools and college textbooks. Charles Marion writes, when sincere attempts are made to secure objectivity in the writing of history textbooks, they are met with stiff resistance from powerful interest group in most national communities. Under the guise of patriotism, such groups puts pressure on education, ministers, boards and teachers to prevent balanced treatment of relations with other countries. And third important tool is press. People are educated through newspaper. Newspapers are known as the most powerful means of propaganda and feeling of patriotism is imparted through journals, books and newspaper, etc. Then important part is radio. It also plays a big role in nationalist propaganda. People are informed through radio, patriotic songs and lectures are provided through radio to the whole world. Similarly, television, essays, lectures, songs and news about the state provides and inspired nationalism in people as they make sacrifices for the state. Besides this, that is flag, schools, press, radio, television, nowadays we can talk about the internet and social media, that is WhatsApp group, chatting other groups, etc. These are helpful to develop the feeling of nationalism, the feeling of one's own country, belongingness is known as nationalism. The whole discussion when we talk about the what nationalism is, what definition is, what are the key factors of nationalism and what are the important tools, we can summarize, we can all agree that nationalism is a powerful force in the world even today. But it is more difficult to arrive at a consensus regarding the definition of words such as nation or national. It is very difficult to define what nation is and what nationalism in this globalization era. What is nation? Why do people form nations and what do nations want? Why are people ready to make sacrifices and even die for their country? Why and in what way are claims to nationality linked to claims to the state? It is clear from the above discussion that there is no generic, uniform or modular nationalism that can be applied universally. It is very difficult to define globally what nationalism is. Historically, different types of nationalism have arisen with different conception of the formation of national collectivities and nationhood. The common denominators of all these different movements, ideas, policies and projects in the nationalist discourse. In other words, nationalism is the discourse and rhetoric of nationalism at the core of which are the ideas and self-determination. Self-consciousness and self-determinations are woven around the notion of the people as an integrated entity. A nation is not a random collection of people. At the same time, it is distinct from other groups or communities found in human society. It is different from family, which is based on face-to-face relationship with each others, each members having direct personal knowledge about the identity and characters of the others. When we talk about the interaction between the member of the family, we can say that every person is well known to each others, every person knows each and every person of the family, but this is not possible in the nation. We can trace those links of if necessary that may link them together, but as a member of a nation, we may never come face to face with most of our fellow citizens, nor do we need to share ties of descent with them. Yet, nations exist, are linked in and valued by their members. Nationalism is an ideology that emphasizes loyalty, dedication or allegiance to a nation or nation's state and believes that such obligations are greater than the interest of any other individuals or group. It means nationalism is a feeling, nationalism is an ideology developed among the people of the nations that our nation is superior. Similarly, when we talk about the caste system, our caste is superior. When we talk about the religion, our religion is superior. When we talk about the region, our region is superior. When we talk about the country, our country is superior than the other countries. This type of feeling when developed in the mind of the people, in the society or in the community or in the state or nation, this is known as nationalism, that is loyalty, dedication, feeling of belongingness is known as nationalism.